My name's Garrison. I am one of the new VP of Marketings at Ava Labs. Really excited to be with you all today. Andrew, you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Garrison. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yep,
we
sounds
can.
good.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, I'm Andrew Hayward. I'm the culture editor at Decrypt. I oversee our coverage of everything NFTs, gaming, metaverse. My history before this was as a game journalist, so I know the broader space very well. We've covered Avalanche a bit, certainly, and a lot of other game stuff. And over the course of the past few months, I've actually interviewed some Avalanche game devs, folks from Shrapnel, Cravata, High Rise World, other builders to try and get a sense of the, momentum and excitement that's happening in that space. So, I'm looking forward to hearing from some of you guys today and, getting more of a sense of what motivates you, what drives you here.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. We really appreciate you being with us today. We're excited to talk about whether or not Web3 gaming is going to make it. And to do that, we've got some fantastic guests as well. We've got Rich from the Ready Player DAO team. We've got Tony V from Shrapnel, fresh off their award win today. Congratulations again. We've got Miles from Battle for Geostone. Hopefully, we get a chance to talk a bit more about their competition that they're running in early 2023. Breevi, who you all know, Chief Vibe Officer at GoGoPool, head of marketing, but a fantastic Vibe supporter for the Avalanche ecosystem. Always fantastic to have you with us. And I think we also have, is that Will from the Ava Labs team? Excited to have you up here as well. We are waiting for Cam or someone else from the Fave War team. We'll invite them up when we get a chance. And then Francis, I actually haven't met you, but welcome, welcome to the panel. And can we also maybe pull? I see Coop in the audience. Can we pull him up as well?
Yep, I'll get it.
All right. And we'll also welcome Coop, who is fresh meat at Ava Labs. We're excited to have him as a culture and gaming analyst on our team. And with that, I'm going to throw it over to you, Andrew. We've got, I think, 40 minutes to do questions for our panelists, but I will let you lead. The way that we're going to do this is Andrew's going to throw up a question. If one of our panelists could raise their hand, we're going to pick speakers to get us started, and then we can open it up from there.
All right, sounds good. Thanks. So let's start a little broadly here. I want to get a sense of some of your backgrounds and what brought you into Web3 gaming in the first place. So, first question is, what drew you to Web3 gaming and what gives you confidence that this is the future, or at least part of the future of gaming?
So, first, let me introduce myself. I'm Mile. I'm from North Macedonia, and I'm founder and CEO of Battle for Geoston, a Web3 MOBA game, multiplayer online battle arena game, which is similar to like League of Legends or Dota 2 from the Web2 space. So, what we are trying to build here in Battle for Geoston is actually how we see the vision in Web3 is ultimate goal would be shifting from Web2 to Web3. And one of our main goals is to try to attract Web2 gamers to our game by doing certain things. So how I see Web3 in near future and long-term future is having all of the Web2 gamers playing games in the Web3, but without specifying that this is Web3, right? So uh, until we have to say this is Web3, 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 I think it's that part will be like natural, right? So if when we have the Web2 gamers in the Web3, and when someone is building a Web3 game and it's not using the Web3 as a marketing tool, I think that's when the real shift will happen over time. I don't think it will be like immediately, but I think maybe in like a year and a half, we'll have some games where people could play for fun without having to specify that this is Web3 or this is on the blockchain. I think someone is raising their hand.
Oh yeah, didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just going to share my thoughts if that's cool.
Yeah, go ahead, Coop. Thank you.
Sure.
Cool. So it's evolved a lot for me over time. I think right now, what I find most interesting about Web3 is really for the game developers. I know that it's a huge pain to put payment rails into your game that would allow a user to have a marketplace like a Counter-Strike. Like people often bring up Counter-Strike as sort of a counterpoint to Web3. They say, you know, Counter-Strike already has a marketplace that you can trade skins. Isn't that the main thing Web3 does? And say, yeah, well, Counter-Strike is huge and they have a ton of resources to put together that marketplace. But I think not every game does. And having marketplaces pre-built, you just, you know, implement some Web3 technology and it enables this whole ecosystem that your gamers can now go and use and spend real dollars or sell their items. It opens up a whole new world for the game developers. And so right now, that's what I'm most excited about is really like the long tail of all those games that couldn't do these things on their own can plug into an ecosystem that does it for them and enables the gamer. So like that's my take right now.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Coop, and that's something that I've talked about before. It's like this might not be something that's brand new to gaming, like having a market and tradable assets, but it's a technology that amplifies it, right? So like if we look historically at the gaming revolutions of the past, right? Like mobile gaming was around before smartphones, but smartphones enabled it to be what it is today, right? Like you could play Snake on your Nokia, you know, unbreakable phone, but you couldn't play Apex Mobile on it, right? So these like technology improvements that kind of bring these changes and revolutions to the forefront to be more readily available and more trusted by the gamers that are using them, I think is the massive value add that we're seeing here today. And I think that's the difference maker.
Shrapnel team, want to go ahead?
Yeah, you know, I was just going to comment on that mobile comment. I've been saying this for the past year or so since I got into Web3. I really think blockchain gaming is just like a microcosm of the backlash that we saw with microtransactions, free to play, and mobile gaming. You know, I'm 37, so I'm old enough to remember when you bought video games and then that was it. That was the video game. There was no extra. There was no more content. And then we evolved into expansions where you'd pay $30 to $40 for more content in your video game so that you could expand the experience. And what free to play and really what free to play did was enable what is now called live service gaming. And I really think that Web3 and the ownership layer is really just the natural evolution of live service gaming. You know, you have people that they fall in love with a set of lore or a narrative or gameplay, and instead of re-upping every year and playing the next version, we see franchises like Valorant and even Overwatch released a sequel, and League of Legends, who have effectively the same game for 5-10 years, but they continue to release content and find ways to monetize that. Again, I really think the ownership layer is just the next step of that.
Breevy, you want to do one more bit here and then we'll move on to the next question?
Man, Shrapnel said it like amazingly. When you have that kind of ownership kind of situation that's starting to get pushed, because I used to be a huge, heavy gamer, like back when I was like, young and 10, 12 years old, when I would just be grinding out games 10, 12, 14 hours per day. My game of choice was Madden for everyone out there, and I think we're going to see a huge shift when that grind becomes for like right now. I mean, right now, currently with games, you grind and you grind and you grind. There's really no reason for it. Really, it's just fun. But I think we're going to see a huge shift when you're actually rewarded for that amount of grind that you're kind of putting in. We got games like Shrapnel that are really incentivizing the community to create and to help create more content for the actual platform. And so what excites me the most about Web3 is the future where this is the norm. The norm is I play a game, I can get paid for it, I can actually make this a life. And I'm more excited about seeing that future kind of come into fruition.
We're here on an Avalanche Spaces, so I feel like I have to ask, why Avalanche? For the game builders here who are speaking, what were the technical or community elements that made this the right platform for you? Francis, you want to start with this one?
Yeah, I think from our side on Shrapnel, there was really no other real alternative that could provide us something where we truly get to be the architects of the experience of the gamers. Like Polygon obviously has their own solution, but it's not the same level of customizability and depth offered by Avalanche. And I just think being able to say, hey, here's a blank canvas blockchain, craft it to your own needs is the key reason that we chose Avalanche. We can make an experience that Web2 gamers would consider just a regular game, which is kind of what we're all out here to do. We can make an experience where Web3 users sit there and go, wow, this is, like, I can barely even tell that there's blockchain involved, because I think obfuscating the blockchain is one of the key things that I think most successful games will try and do, at least successful games in terms of onboarding as many Web2 users. So it just gives us so many advantages to everything else, from the user experience to the scalability to the customizability. It's difficult to find a better, well, actually, it's impossible to find a better choice in our opinion.
Geostone, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So for us, the first initiative was the ability to have our own blockchain with subnet. That's what attracted me personally the most. Like using our token for gas fees was something that was really, really, really cool for me. And by the time, before that, I was thinking like, how do we create our own blockchain? And it was like it required a lot of developers and a lot of things, huge thing, to actually be able to create our blockchain. And then when I find out about Avalanche and the subnet, that was our the best. The best, it was like the dream for me, right? We have this platform where we can build our own blockchain with 3 clicks. Like let's do it. And then after we decided to go with Avalanche, then like everything came together. Like the everyone behind the Avalanche is like super friendly. They support us, and everything's perfect, to be honest.
Coop, go for it.
I think these answers are really important, and that's exactly what I like to hear. If your game is picking their blockchain technology because they think there's more liquidity there, it's a terrible answer. Like, the answer should always be, it's about the tech that sets up the back end of the game for a great experience. And it really shows that they're focused on making a fun game, and this is just a technology that helps enable that, and they're not focused on selling things to a certain blockchain community.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in there. That's a very, very good point, right? And I think that's something that was on another spaces that someone else brought up around building their game where the most liquidity is, which I think if you're building a fun, good game, you're going to attract users, and it's all going to depend on what your user experience looks like and what that sign up looks like. So if the user experience is easy, it doesn't matter where you exist. It matters that you control your network and you're able to provide the best experience possible, right? One of the things in the biz concern, why I've been such a proponent for subnets or just games owning their blockchain, is we all saw how high and how congested, how high cost in terms of gas got during the bull market on something like ETH, where of course, has the highest liquidity, but also how congested some chains got with that as well. And, things being difficult in terms of having congestion and chains going down because of X thing that's out of the game's control is like not an okay story to tell a gamer who just wants to get in and play for the hour that he has to play, right? So making sure you can control your network and network effects that exist there, I think is extremely important for games that are building.
Breevy, what do you think?
So one thing I wanted to say too is Avalab's willingness to support. I think that is absolutely huge, especially in this space. One of those huge things that I'm kind of seeing is one, we have like a marketing AMA that we're doing with Husky on Fridays, where projects can literally just come into the Discord and just ask Husky questions about how to better market their project or about experiences. And then I'm also seeing these Avalabs office hours as well, where people can come in and kind of interact with the Avalabs builders. And I think that's absolutely huge to kind of have that support from your blockchains.
All right, let's move on to a little spicier question. Last year we saw Axie Infinity just crush it with billions of dollars in NFT trading, and then it just fell off a cliff. Total collapse. We haven't seen headline-grabbing success like that so far in 2022 in terms of volume, and obviously the market's in a rough spot overall. So here's the question. What does success look like right now for Web3 games? And then how do you sustain that momentum going forward? Who wants to take it? Francis?
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things with Axie is I would actually argue that it's been a failure for Web3 gaming, because yes, I think it had 2.7 million monthly actives at one point, and billions of dollars were poured into it. But at the same time, the damage that it did to the reputation of Web3 gaming, like everyone now just assumes that all we're about is kind of people making money and the ability to extract value from an ecosystem, which is, I think, pushed a lot of designer tokenomics back at least a few months. Like we've not been here that long, so it's not exactly pushed us back years, but everyone's trying to design games that are principled around extracting value. And I think success for blockchain gaming looks like when that is not a core principle of design, as well as the ability of games themselves to start onboarding Web2 users in a fashion where no one can even notice that they're on a blockchain. I think once we hit the point where Web2 users are sat there playing blockchain games and they don't know they're on blockchain games because they don't have to, that's kind of what success looks like.
Let's do Rich and then Geostone after.
Yeah, I think short answer is sustainability, right? Like organic, sustainable growth. I think when you look at games, they need two things to be successful, right? And I don't want to oversimplify this, so apologies to you game devs, but it's attention and retention, right? So like Axie had the attention because they were literally paying people to play their game through cryptocurrency and SLP. But what they didn't have was retention, because those players came with the expectation of a certain amount of earnings, and when that earning dropped, they left, right? So retention faltered, and what ended up happening was a snowball effect in the opposite direction. So you have the spike and the drop. So I think when we talk about like what's necessary for the next like generational successful Web3 game that proves the use case is a sustainable ecosystem built around that game, not another pay for user acquisition, and then when they get tired of it, have it dump on the users that remain, right?
Yeah, right. So as someone who worked with Sky Mavis, like I worked with them like from maybe April 2021. So I started working with them together on community protection. There was like just a lot of activity in their Discord. So I had a company that actually has some employees 24/7, and we were making sure that every fake website that comes in their Discord, we shut them down, work with the domain providers and the hosting companies. So I've seen it all, from the bull market all the way to the bear market, and from the Axie going from the bottom to the top and then to the bottom again. So I've seen this whole experience, and what I can say is that what they did is actually they used the Web3 and play to earn to get new users. Basically, there was a documentary saying like here how to earn like $200 per day playing a game, and then everyone when it got to the top, every like their access were like $500 each, and you needed like 2K to grant to start the game, and after 3 months you are barely earning like $5. So it was very frustrating for players because a lot of people came just because of the earning side. No one liked the game, or I mean, not that no one liked the game, but no one came because the game is fun for them. But everyone just went to extract the ecosystem and get money. There were bot farms farming SLP, selling the SLP, and nobody really cared about the game. And it was okay for them until one point when they realized this is not gonna work long term, right? No one, like they reached their peak users, and then when there was no one to buy access anymore, the prices just start went to go down, and there were no new players to onboard, and then everything just started to collapse because no one used SOP. And what they did wrong is not reacting. So they knew this is gonna happen, and what they said is like, mm, we will need a lot of SLP supply for the next players wave, blah blah blah, and then there was no next wave. The SLP oversupply just continued to go up and up. There was massive oversupply, and everything just started crashing like straight to the bottom. So then they for their player base went down like 95% at least, and no one played the game because they were all there for the money. So what we need to do in future is, I mean, what we did with Battle for Geostorm is we just notify everyone that this is a game for gamers. This is a game, this is an esports title, and this is not game where everyone can come and make money. And that's why we don't want to promote our game as a way to make money only, but a game that will be played for fun, a game that everyone can download and play for free, and a game where if you wanted to, you can switch from playing for fun to playing competitively and earn some money by being top in the leaderboard, or by participating in our esports tournament, or just by forging new heroes. So I think the sustainability is based on how do you want to structure your game. I think, in my opinion, there are like two ways to go about it. One would be like for the single player games or players with campaigns and all that stuff. I think the way would be to just sell collectibles and like gain value like that. And for the other games that are competitive, I think the esports is the key, to be honest, because the esports is like huge industry right now, and it's growing every year. And it's not just fun to play, but it's fun to watch, like sports, right? So people would watch someone that is really good at the game because of the good moves they do, and they want to watch it. And then there are like the sponsors like Mercedes, BMW, that can bring fresh capital always in these companies if there are like people that want to watch these games. So as long as the game is fun to play and fun to watch, then I think the esports has really big potential to create sustainable economy while rewarding users for their skill, time, and effort. It's not just to go click two clicks and earn money, but actually have some skill or do something and prove that you're good at what you do to be actually able to earn something. Because in life, nothing is like for free, right? You got to be good at something to earn something, right? If you go at our game and are worst player, you will not be able to earn something. And I think that's the way to go. Like, thank you.
See Shrapnel, you have your hand up. You want to just do a quick finish up there?
Yeah, for sure. And Francis will probably yell at me for trying to talk about economics because he's the economics guy. But I think that what we'll see, or at least I think what we're trying to do, is really make token issuance more of a thing that happens during active value creation. And so what that means is, instead of just emitting token every epoch, and everyone gets some amount based on how much they're playing or winning or whatever. Our economics are really rooted in the value that our creators are bringing to the ecosystem, right? So we're going to emit token when someone creates a map that everyone uses. They're going to get a bunch of token, but just making a map that no one uses will not, benefit you financially. Similarly, someone creates a skin that a bunch of people buy, we're going to reward them for that, right? And so in that way, we've really been able to, I think, knock on wood, create a flywheel and economy that's going to be, self-feeding, because the demand should always be greater than the supply if you're only emitting token when demand is created.
And so how quickly do you all see Web3 gaming really reaching the mainstream then? Between the Axie collapse, gamers hating on NFTs, and the market being in a hole, are we looking at years and years before there are serious inroads with traditional gamers? Who wants to jump in?
Yeah, I don't think it's years, right? I think it's maybe 12 months, 18 months. And I think that because, again, I go back to mobile, and like the backlash it was the death of gaming when it was happening, right? Like gaming was over. There was going to be just these lame little non-passionate games that just try to squeeze money out of you. And that's just not the case, right? Like Warframe, Fortnite, even the AAA guys, like all of the live service content. Someone mentioned being a Madden fan. I created the loyalty program for Madden Ultimate Team, and like that audience is just like craves more content. They crave constant content, and the communities, the power users of these communities are already monetizing outside of them, right? Like there's a whole, I think Mutthead is the name of the website still, but there's a whole community around people like buying and selling in-game content in Madden. I know a guy named Rinkar. He's one of the Web3 degens on Solana. He's like a botter for FIFA. He makes like $3 million a year, lives in Dubai, and just like buys thousands of PlayStations and bots FIFA. And so I think the demand is clearly there. Players want to engage with content that continually evolves and continually delivers them value. And players want to be able to extract value from the things they're good at. Like I don't think that's in contention at all. And I really just think it's going to take, what do you call them, the killer app or whatever you called it. It went back in the day, but that's really going to be it. I hold the position that's going to be people like us, Shrapnel, and some of the folks on this stage.
Francis, go ahead.
Yeah, I think to kind of Tony's point with the 18 to 24 months, it isn't going to be that long in the future where people actually just start playing Web3 games. Like same with free to play, same with mobile. Everyone hates it at the start. It's just the tech has to catch up with the user experience, and that's all it is. Like I don't really think we need the title Web3 gaming versus Web2 gaming. I think it's just gaming. We're just giving it to people on a different medium. It's like no one compares whether they use AWS or Google Cloud services, just like we probably won't end up comparing whether we use Avalanche, Polygon, Google Cloud, AWS for hosting various aspects of the game. I just think once that user experience catches up and it's easy for game developers to jump on, using things like subnets, then it just becomes gaming, and we get integrated into that ecosystem that already exists.
Anyone else want to chime in on the kind of timeline you see? Go ahead, Giostin.
Yeah, so for me, I think like the first real shift will happen like maybe in year and a half, because I think it's gonna happen when professional esports organization enter the Web3 ecosystem. They have millions of fans all around the world, and what we're trying to do, we have Tiban Siva as a co-founder in Battle for Geoston. He is professional, like ex-professional Dota player. He played like 8 out of 11 internationals in Dota 2. And what we want to do to help our mission, which is to onboard Web2 gamers, is what actually we are creating. We want to host a world championship where everyone from the world, like the best Web2 organizations, will be invited in, and then add guilds from the Web3. So we hope to see a shift when those Web2 organizations, let's say OG, let's say Cloud9, let's say like Secret or TNC from the Southeast Asia, or someone from America joins these Web2 competitions, and then we mix it with guilds from the Web3 space, and when everyone just posts about the game and not about Web3, NFTs, then I think people from the Web2 will start realizing that this is worth and this is good, and then actually start to maybe research and try to enter this space. But what is the most important thing, I think, is that when someone from the Web2 comes, it needs to be very simple to get the game. Like, download the game, create an account, hit play, hit that play button, and play the game. If there is anything like signing transactions or connecting MetaMask involved, I think it will be very hard to just convert someone from Web2 space. But when we have these subnets and a way to basically go in the game and play without even noticing that this is a Web3 game, and we have these esports teams playing competitions and their fans finding out about the games and joining, I think that's gonna be in like year half, 2 years from now.
Some of you mentioned seeing Web3 gaming just becoming gaming someday. It won't be as big of a differentiator. But do you see Web3 gaming models ultimately eating the traditional Web2 models in the long run? Or will these models kind of coexist depending on, game type, what kind of audience they're shooting for? Go ahead, Shrapnel.
I think that there will likely always be a place for people who just don't want to interact with like an ownership layer. We saw that on Madden as well, right? There's a large cadre of people that just want to play the seasons, and that's it. However, I do think, similar to what we've seen with free to play, that the dominant business model will absolutely be the model that allows players to own, trade, and sell their content. I believe it'll keep players real sticky, keep them around, and I truly believe that if Fortnite just like turned it on tomorrow, then we would all have to pack it in and go home, right? So, like, I think that that it's I think the jury's in, and there's more money to be made, doing things the way that we're doing them and allowing players to reap financial benefit from the games that they're playing.
Yeah, Rich, go for it.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna per se eat the market. I do think once gamers start seeing how things work and on a more trusted when it becomes more trusted, that we'll see more pressure from those gamers. They're gonna take a step back and say like, okay, well, hold on, I'm paying for this skin, and if someone else wants to buy it off me, I should be able to sell it, right? Like at a very core fundamental level, like at least that I could see becoming very mainstream, and more pressure being put on. So if you look at games like Blankos, which has been around for a while and only has NFT characters and skins, right? And nothing of cryptocurrency, like, because that stuff's a lot harder to balance. I think that format of the games will be amplified a lot. I think the rest of it, like including tokens and tokenizing resources in game outside of like skins and very like low level section of including Web3, will just turn into another subgenre of gaming, right?
And ultimately, what are some of the biggest issues that need to be solved before Web3 gaming can reach mainstream adoption? What are some of the biggest issues that need to be sorted out or streamlined or smoothed over? Go ahead, Francis.
I think there's one issue, and to me it is the only issue, and it's user onboarding. You take a look at how most Web3 games have to onboard users right now. It's like a 9-step process: deposit money to an exchange, pass KYC, deposit money to an exchange, take it onto a network, then take it to your game. There's tons of things involved in that, which could take days, could take weeks, depending on where you live, and it could cost you a ton of money. And there's loads of mistakes to make. Like, user onboarding should be kind of like League of Legends. Like, me and Tony were back channeling this. Like, you download the game, you sign on, and you're playing within 2-3 minutes. There's no reason that we should have a 1 day to 1 week grace period, or even any formal education on, hey, this is a wallet, this is what's going on. You want people playing immediately, and that's it. I think personally, if we can solve that, you would get so many people in Web2 playing a good game. That's kind of the other metric. The game has to be good, but user onboarding is I think, the key.
Go ahead, GSM.
Yeah, I agree with Francis, and I think the one and only problem is the mindset, because let's say in our game there is no any interaction with the blockchain currently. Our game is open for everyone. So how it works is just you download the launcher, you download the game, you click play, and people are playing the game. So that's how we onboard users right now, and we don't plan to add anything related to wallets or blockchain until we have the subnet, and then being able to do the same for everyone. So I think people right now are like so much scared when they hear the word NFT or the word blockchain or the word crypto. So I think I agree that the user acquisition is the problem, and that's why I think we need to work together, like with every project, to make sure that we onboard all these users uh, without making their life hard, and without them having to go through all these steps. And I believe that I think I share the same thoughts with Francis. When good games solve this problem, I think that people will start massively joining, because that's like amplifying, multiplying. When you have 100 people join your game and they tell 5 friends, if it's easy to join, maybe all of them will join if they like such games. But if it's hard, I think no one will convert really. So yeah, I believe that the way to go is to like allow everyone to try the game out, and when they feel ready to learn about the blockchain, then just switch to the blockchain part and join the ecosystem.
Thanks, Milo. We've got some time left to bring some listeners up to maybe ask some spicy or hard-hitting questions for our panel here. If you want to come up and ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll get you on stage.
I pulled the first two up here, Locked CC and Alcatraz. Alcatraz, I know you've been requesting for a while, so Garrison, I'll let you kind of pull the questions in, and I'll pull people up as we go.
All right. Well, if you got pulled up and you want to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask our panel.
Hey guys, glad to be such esteemed company here. I don't really have a question. I'm Christoph. Hi, I'm from the Fable team actually. Had some trouble joining, but I've been listening in, and it's really glad to hear that. Well, I'm really glad to hear that everybody seems very aligned on what we have to do here as companies, right? And as kind of pioneers of the first Fable, of the first crypto gaming projects that are actually games and have quality. So I just wanted to echo real quick before we go into the questions that we also see the sustainability long-term goals as I think Francis said pretty perfectly the same way, and similar to what makes successful games, and that just made me really happy, I think. So that's really cool that everybody seems to be pretty much on board on what we have to do, and knows that we have a responsibility and big shoes to fill in for everybody who's coming after us. So I'll just stand here, hang out, and answer some questions with you guys. Whoever was put up with me, feel free to speak your question.
Cool. Great to have you here. Any of the listeners want to jump up and ask a question, please raise your hand. We'll get you shuffled up here.
Looks like we got Ropian coming up. Remember, if you want to speak on Space, you got to be on your mobile devices, so go for it.
Hey guys, I'd love to ask a question, if that's okay. First of all, thank everybody for speaking about gaming. That's really great. I was in I'm in various projects involved with gaming and NFTs and stuff, and it's really nice to hear perspectives really from a gaming point of view, because I think that's where the NFT world sort of like that, those two worlds have to meet maybe in a better way. Obviously, the technology on blockchain is providing the opportunity now for assets to be actually owned by you in game. And I love what I'm hearing about, like not having users feel like they're actually interacting with the blockchain, but slowly but certainly they sort of move them over to a new set of rails without them even maybe being aware of what that means. Maybe some education at some point would also be needed there. But my question is more like I was in a Twitter space before where it was really about NFTs and how do we bring more eyes to our NFTs, and it's so much about floor price and all this stuff. So from your experience, like how are you approaching this? Are you approaching this more like game first and then assets later, or because that world is so heavily, I don't know, loaded now with like price and floor and volume and all this stuff. Just want to hear your thoughts about that. Thank you.
Go for it, Geoson.
Yeah, thank you for the question. For me, personally, for us, for the whole team, it's all about the game first. Like, I think in our, let's say, our token is out like 2.5 months already, and no one ever like asked or complained about the price of the token. So everyone is just enjoying the game, I guess, and we have like everything in our game is in our project is game first. So I think tokens, prices, and heroes and everything else should come naturally, and that's why what we're doing with the NFTs is when we have our initial NFT sale, we will have some benefits for those NFTs that will be sold out like from us, and after that everything will be like super cheap. Like I believe when you create an NFT for the game, it should not be expensive, because if it's expensive, people see that as an investment and will expect returns on it. But if they see it as like, okay, I just bought like NFT for $2 or like $1, then it just doesn't feel like an investment, and they can just keep on going heroes, collecting those heroes, playing the game, and enjoying everything. And that's why we believe and we want to make these NFTs accessible for everyone. And like one NFT, I believe it should not cost for like more than like $5 or something. Maybe like $10 maximum if it's required to play the game, right? Because everything more will be considered as an investment from someone, and then they will seek for profits, and then all the bad things start happening. So as I believe that as long as people don't consider buying a hero or like NFT that is required for the game as investment, then everything's cool.
Alcatraz, did you have your hand up? You want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. So I'll do a super quick intro. I'm Alcatraz. I'm a senior designer working with Rainy Studios on our TCG, The Lords of Light. And yeah, like for us, the game experience has to be the top priority. That user experience, what you're putting out there for your players, is really important. As it's very similar to what will happen in a lot of secondary marketplaces in traditional Web2 gaming. Like if you look at the old CS:GO trading scene and stuff like that, where the value of the items in the game. So for us, obviously the value in like our token NFTs and such really falls back onto the value that the game itself is providing to those assets. If you have a really great core experience where your players are having a lot of fun, they're enjoying what they're doing, they're going to want to interact with what assets you put out there. So they're going to want to, buy, in our case, buy new cards, buy new heroes, stuff like that, or, buy whatever you're giving them access to through NFTs or through your token. So it's very much a cause and effect sort of thing where the quality of the game, the user experience is what will actually drive. If you are obviously looking to deliver value for your community, the quality of the game is what will drive that floor price, will drive that demand for the assets that you're creating.
Thank you for sharing. Caesar, I think we just pulled you up here. Do you want to ask a question for the panel?
Yes, actually, I have a question. Hello, guys. Thanks for the space. It was very beneficial for me. I am also marketing manager for Avalanche Native Gaming project, Heroes of NFT. And actually, I am wondering your thoughts about gaming tokenomics. Especially, what are your thoughts on dual token economic models, one token economic model, or just no token at all, just NFTs? Can I learn your opinions about that?
Now that is a spicy question. I think that the no token model thing is something that's been talked around and punted around a lot lately. So, folks from our panel, anyone have an opinion?
Yeah, I think I'll start with dual tokenomics models. One of the things I think happens there when a game has that is you often design a two-class system, one which is trying to satisfy investors, and the other which is trying to satisfy a group of gamers. And the moment you're trying to satisfy investors as well as gamers with something that has to derive value from the game, you're kind of partitioning, or you're saying you're going to partition some of the value in the experience to people that don't play the game but just want to make money off the game. And you can create like I think this is kind of similar to what happened in Axie, where you have the people that are investing having rights over the direction that the game goes, and the people that are playing collect this other token that then you just proceed to slowly devalue by inflating it infinitely. So the dual token model has a lot of issues if you're trying to make a healthy ecosystem for gamers as a whole. And then with the single token model, I think the way we're looking at it is you obviously have a token. Most games have a token. If you look outside of Web3, you have games like Eve, you have games like RuneScape, games like World of Warcraft. Every game has its own in-game virtual currency, and the reason you do that is to have people think about money in a separate way, something that is just totally ingrained into that universe as a whole, as opposed to like thinking in US dollars. So because most of those games you can convert into US dollars, but you think in WoW Gold, you think in RuneScape Gold, just like in crypto, eventually you'll think in whatever token it is. But on the single token model, the no token model, I think that's something that's interesting, but you'll always have something that represents value within an ecosystem, unless the game inherently is designed to be free to play and not acquire any kind of progression to a player. But either way, I think you'll end up having NFTs that kind of act as a pseudo token where you collect, like in League of Legends, you could argue collecting champions would be an NFT, and it's not necessarily a token per se, but it's something that you're building up and acquiring over time. So I think the kind of key models there are the 1 and the 0. I think as soon as you start adding 2, unless it is, well, actually, I don't think unless, like you're just creating something, 1 for investors, 1 for gamers, is kind of how I'd put it.
Thanks, Francis. Rich, we'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, I think I'm in general agreement with Francis there. I think the one token model makes sense, and to design it as a premium currency, right? So like games already have premium currencies. A lot of them also have like fiat currencies in the Web2 space, and designing your token as a premium currency and as a utility token makes way more sense for its existence to begin with, right? And then past that, if the intention is to tokenize other resources in games, I think that's completely fine. Like if you're building an MMO and you have like the iron, the copper, whatever else tokenized as well, like that's another approach. But the two token model, to have one driven as an investment and one as a utility, I think I agree completely with what Francis was saying. It seems a bit unnecessary and kind of fractionalizes things with a token that's not used in the game. So its existence is a bit more questionable of why it's necessary. And then the no token model I referenced earlier, I think obviously you don't have to develop an economy around it, so it's probably the most sustainable and easiest to design because you're just focusing on the NFT side of things. So I guess that's my 2 cents on it. We've seen a few that went just the NFT route, and that can make sense, like a lot of sense in terms of not having to worry about managing the sustainability of an on-chain token as well.
I think we've got Laverdude or Laverdude pulled up here. You've got the honor of asking our last listener question for today before we close out. You've got the mic.
Thank you very much. So first I want to say this is an awesome space, and one of the more important kinds of spaces that need to happen. My personal opinion is this space needs to happen more often. That's the first thing I want to say, because it's that good of a space. The second thing I want to ask is, I feel like there's a little bit of trying to have it both ways in some of the conversation about Web3 technology and what it's going to do. And so, like, on the one hand, we're saying that Axie Infinity kind of like hurt things because it talked about like play to earn and value extraction. But on the other hand, I believe that the value of Web3 gaming is in what the players are creating, right? There's a value creation opportunity for a lot of these games. And I feel like the play to own space and the GameFi space and things like that hold a very important line. So when I hear about like NFTs shouldn't cost more than like $2 or $5, I sort of like, I wonder if there's a balance between that, because as a player, I do believe in like the value that I create based on the time that I spend. And I'm not like looking to just like extract liquidity, but I'm looking for like a value exchange if I'm ever done with the game, right? Or something like that after all. And I say this as somebody who's played Magic the Gathering for over 20 years, started as a paper player in the 90s, and I am now a paper player because the way that they've gone about doing their Web 2 version of gaming with Magic Arena is one of the worst economies I could have ever imagined Magic the Gathering would do. Like they used to have something very cool in their original Web 2 offering, where there was a secondary market, and so players could like exist in an economy. But now there's nothing like that. So if Web3 is about all of that for the players, what's this middle ground? And what do you guys as games have that can meet us players there in that space?
I think I saw Fableborn, your hand went up first, so we'll pass it to you.
Yeah, maybe just a quick note. I think when we're talking about low cost NFTs, we're mainly talking about accessibility, right? I do believe in the notion that if I spend, I don't know, 100 hours on my character in World of Warcraft, that I kind of want to have more value than $2 out of that in the end. And I do believe that there's a space for that, right? But generally speaking, the accessibility the barrier to entry should be extremely low, I think. And it's more about, like, if we compare it to Axie, right, it's more about us not asking for $500 just to get into the game. And that's something, yeah, I believe strongly in. I hope you still have your alpha collection somewhere around, and you can still use it with some sort of happiness without putting it into binders and leaving it there. But yeah, I think that's the main part.
I'm sorry, my mom tossed him.
Oh no!
Yeah. I had like a full play set of dual lands. So.
Oh boy.
No, listen.
Well,
it
that's
happens,
unfortunate.
right? It happens, and so that's why that's a formative experience, right? And so that's why losing that value back then,
course, yeah.
Seeing Web3 technology, it's such an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's all. So thanks.
No, I agree. Yeah, you can still lose your keys. Obviously, I hope that it never happens to your wallet, but yeah, just a little mention from my side. I think it's more about accessibility, and then obviously there should be value added the longer you play.
Shrapnel, you want to take us home?
Yeah, absolutely. Just echoing some of that. I think that you were talking about Magic the Gathering, right? You can buy Magic the Gathering cards for $5 to, I think I just saw one for $150,000 when I was doing some quick Google. So I think that the market is going to, when I say the market within a game is going to demand or going to determine the value of the higher end or the more expensive items in the ecosystem. And it's interesting. I'm not gonna speak to it because I will do it really poorly. But if you read our white paper that Francis put together, our economy paper, we have some like market making that we're doing in the background to ensure that like the base level entry level of gear will always be something that you can sell back to us as a player and recoup a good amount of your money. So, we're trying to make it as safe as possible to start spending money. And then, if you decide you want a $200,000 digital gun, then, that's your call, right?
All right. Thank you for that answer. And since we're right at the hour, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I really appreciate all the panelists for coming up here. And Labor Dude, I agree with you. We need to do this more often. And I think going forward, we will do a gaming spaces monthly. I also want to thank Andrew Hayward from Decrypt for joining us and co-hosting today. It's been a real blast to have you. For our listeners, where can they find you if they want to read your coverage or have a conversation with you or just hang out?
You can read my stuff at Decrypt, which is decrypt.co, and then on Twitter, you just click on me or my icon. My name is AHAYWA, like Ahewa. So follow me there, and happy to chat. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, and thank you again to all our panelists. If you're listening, please go check out their projects. They're doing some incredible work, and we're super happy to have them in the Avalanche ecosystem. Thanks y'all for joining.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.